Good morning, PARC and DOC, and welcome to the 2024 conference. And I thank you so much for coming here today. And I think we're going to have a great day. My name's Rob Reed. It says Rob here, so just call me Rob. I'm with the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, and I think that we're here to celebrate each other. We're celebrate the people who are returning home. We're here to celebrate all of the people who are serving the people who are returning home, in whether they're government, private, whatever. So I want to thank you. And actually, I know this is always incredibly corny when anyone says, give yourself a hand for doing all the great work that you're doing. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. So that was a kind of a tepid clap, but we'll work on it. We've got all day. So I want you to know that there's just a couple of things I want to say, and there was a QR code, which is not up there, which is now taken down, but we'll put it back. Oh, there it is. It's beautiful. It's going in and out. We are trying to get information from you. It's going to stay with us for the rest of your lives, so don't worry. We're not going to let the IRS know till later this afternoon. And we want to get this information because we're going to be talking about some of your answers later today. So that's number one. Number two, we are going to have breakout sessions. We're going to have 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And there is, I think it's called the Keystone Room, and if you go back towards the registration table and go all the way down, obviously there will be people to show you where to go, and we're going to have presentations, as I say, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. So I want you to know that we have been, that is PARC has been, and that's for those of you who don't know what PARC is, you may be in the wrong room, but it's the Pennsylvania Reentry Council, and we started 7.5 years ago. There's a history of PARC at the end of the brochure, which if I didn't tell you about, you would never read. So I'm just going to tell you that it's there, and I know that you're going to want to read it, especially to your grandchildren. It's great, great stuff, and it has a fabulous ending. But anyway, so we came together 7.5 years ago. With the idea that we were going to create an environment, a place, an initiative to bring people from all over Pennsylvania to speak about reentry and to enhance and to raise the level of awareness about what reentry is, who reentrants are, and why it is so important to treat people who are coming home from prisons and jails with dignity and respect, and to, most importantly, treat them as real people. And while I can't say we've completely accomplished that, it's a huge mission, I think we've come a long way. We have been working, and I know Charla, wherever Charla is in front of me, of course I can't see her, has been working on this for many, many years. PCCD has done an extraordinary job in terms of helping fund the reentry grants or reentry programs within the counties. We now have 35, Pennsylvania has 35 county reentry coalitions, which is astounding. And when you think about it, the 35 reentry coalitions, in addition to covering more than half the counties in Pennsylvania, there's only 67, we also cover more than 80% of the people of Pennsylvania through those 35 counties. So it's we're moving. And we had Potter County, and I know we have the coordinator here somewhere, but it's a small county. I think there's 17,000 people in Potter County. They created a reentry coalition, and they're moving forward. And so many counties who maybe people would have never thought that they would have a reentry coalition, they get it about reentry, and they are trying to provide the services and the support for people returning home. So these are amazing things. PARC, for its role, we've kind of brought people together. We've had meetings going back to 2017. I remember the first day or the first meeting was in the AG's office in Harrisburg. I think it was May 15th, 2017. And we came up with a mission statement, which we probably need to revise, and vision and all that stuff that nobody really ever pays attention to. But the bottom line is that we came together, we created committees. Committees have continued meeting after all of these years. And I think we have created an energy which you're seeing here today. So again, I can't tell you how grateful for each of you and for being here, whatever your role is. I am grateful. I really, really am grateful to see all of you here today. So I could, as Charla will tell you, talk for 2 or 3 days, and you would all pass out, but get long-needed sleep. But I am going to shut up, and I'm going to introduce my friend and colleague, the Reentry Coordinator for the Attorney General's Office. Oh, I have to back up. I'm not going to introduce her yet. I have to talk about the Department of Corrections. And I have to say this, that we have developed a phenomenal relationship with the Department of Corrections. And it is really a game changer, I think, because back in 2017, there was PARC, which just started. PCCD was still doing stuff on reentry, and then the Department of Corrections, of course, doing things on reentry. We had not come together. But really, under Kelly Evans and the folks at DOC, we are doing great work. And I can't tell you how excited I am by the steps that I have seen the Department of Corrections make in terms of appreciating the humanity of the people within the prison. Having said that, I get it. There are people who may be saying, "Are you kidding me?" because of their experience. But the bottom line is change takes time. And the change is happening, though. And so, having said that, it is my great privilege to introduce my friend and partner in all of this, and Department of Corrections is certainly supporting this conference equally with the Attorney General's Office, Kelly Evans.
Good morning. I am so excited to be here. Can everyone hear me? I think this mic is low. All right, well, I'll bend down. So, oh my gosh, what a great turnout we have here today. And I just also want to say welcome, everyone, and a big thank you to Rob Reed. Rob is basically the grand poobah of PARC. So we are forever thankful. If it weren't for Rob and, of course, his right hand, Charla Plains, we would not be here today. So thank you, Rob and Charla. I also want to say thank you to everyone who served on the PARC planning conference for today. I know you met every week for the past, I don't know how many months, but you all did a great job in pulling this together in a rather short time and on a relatively low budget. So thank you all for those who served on the planning. Can we get a round of applause? And thank you to Correctional Industries. They also sponsored today's conference and donated some things for us to give away later today. And they're always very supportive of all of our reentry efforts. So thank you to Correctional Industries and also to all of our other sponsors that are in the hallway. So make sure you visit the vendor tables during the breaks. So as I was thinking about today's conference and, reflecting on my years in this field, I've been in this field since the early 1990s, I couldn't help but think, oh my gosh, how far have we come? When I started in 1990, there was no talk about reentry. There was no talk about rehabilitation, really. It was all, we're going to keep people safe by locking everyone up. We had judges at that time that it was, one positive urine, they go to jail, no questions, no treatment, no nothing. And then I'm looking through the list of attendees at this for the conference, and I was amazed. We have individuals here from the U.S. Attorney's Office, District Attorney's Office, County Probation, County Commissioners, County Jails, of course our Department of Corrections folks, our housing providers, community service providers, mental health service providers, Department of Human Services, and the list goes on, and I'm sorry if I didn't recognize any organizations, but it is an amazing list. And most importantly, we have a lot of individuals here with lived experience. So as I was thinking about my career and as how things progressed, I could have never imagined this in the 1990s, the 2000s, even 10 years ago. This is just amazing. And this is how we are going to make real change, and that is getting everyone in the same room and talking the same language. Yes, we've made great strides, but we still have a long way to go. But everyone in this room is so influential with your experience, your talents, and if we all work together, we can really make the change necessary to help those who are returning. And that's what it's about. And it's not only about successful reentry, it's about helping them to thrive and be successful. That's how we're going to keep our communities safe and prevent more victims. And that's, what we want for our children, our grandchildren, our families, our loved ones, is no more victims, and we want people to be successful. So I thank you all for being here. Please take advantage of today's opportunity to network, share experiences, keep an open mind, and let's try new things. Let's see how we can make Pennsylvania the best state in the nation. I would say that we're already the best, but we'll continue to strive forward and, just make things so much safer and support those who are returning. That's what we need to do, and this is how we're going to make change, is by having everyone in the same room. So I thank you all for being here. I am beyond honored to be a part of today, and I will now turn it over to Miss Charla Plains, who is the godmother of PARC. And without Charla, a lot of things would not happen. So no offense, Rob, we all love you, but please help me welcome Miss Charla Plains.
Wow, everybody's cleared the stage. That's not. Good morning, everyone. As you know, my name is Charla Plains. I am the reentry coordinator for the Office of Attorney General, as well as the coordinator for the Pennsylvania Reentry Council. I'm going to take a few more minutes because one of the things I was tasked to do was to give a little history. Can you all hear me? Yes. Give a little history about how we got to where we are. So just bear with me. So good morning and welcome to today's 2024 Reentry Conference, Redefining Reentry, Moving Beyond Restoration. When I think back over my career in reentry, reentry has been defined and redefined in my communities many times over. As a young child, I remember having family members that went away, and we never really knew where they were for months or years at a time, only to hear by ear hustling, as the young people say, we would learn that they had been in jail. They just disappear. And as kids, since we weren't allowed to ask questions, We never knew until they came back and were seated back at the dinner table that they were back home. But they would come home and there was someone in the neighborhood or a family member who would help them get a job to get back on their feet. Either at the barbershop doing odds and ends, or at the local gas station, running errands for the local grocery, some odd jobs at the local church even. But somebody would employ them. They put a few dollars in their pocket and help them transition from jail back into their communities. When Pennsylvania implemented its Weed and Seed initiative under PCCD in 1998 or 99, the focus was on smaller cities. Those neighborhoods were the ones that had the worst education systems, massive housing shortages, highest unemployment rates, highest crime rates, and all the negatives that made them eligible for that designation. And guess what? Those neighborhoods are exactly where the highest rates of folks coming home from jails and prisons return to, even up until today. But the safety nets, the compassion to help restore and rebuild that was once there without funding streams and resources, has shifted into more money-making opportunities with less emphasis on positive outcomes and help for the voiceless. What's now the redefined reentry process since 2011 began when PCCD first incorporated a reentry coordinator unit, which turned out to be a one-person position. That's where reentry, as we know it today, began. Initially, when I was writing to visit the reentry programs the DOC had implemented with PCCD funding, I realized that those programs and projects were all occurring behind the walls. I remember being so confused writing with Mary Fink, I'm sure you all remember Mary, to visit the various SCIs as she invited me to see their reentry programs. During our trips, she and I would have extensive discussions on reentry, and I finally realized we had two totally different focuses and definitions of reentry. Hers and the department's focus at that time was on services for those behind the walls with little to no chance of ever coming home, and mine was on what happened to folks after leaving the institutions, prisons, and jails. It wasn't until I traveled to Lancaster County and saw their RMO in action that I saw what would become the PCCD Reentry Coalition planning process. When PCCD embarked on defining reentry, its focus was on what was needed to help counties create strategic plans that would touch on the needs of folks across all the basic needs and services required to help them survive out on the streets. Hence the subcommittee creations that are issue-focused, yet part of the holistic approach that we all know is crucial to success, not only for those returning, but for their families, neighborhoods, and communities. Putting these projects and programs in place is fundamental to improving the quality of life for all while keeping our communities safe places to live, work, and play. The concept of improving the quality of life for all by implementing outcomes-focused programs and services was a bottom-line principle PCCD applied with Weed and Seed and replicated it when they began to address reentry. As coalitions expand across the state, that should always be the foundation for implementing programs towards successful reentry outcomes. Today, as we learn about various programs and services that are in place to assist with successful reentry, my hope is that each of us who are engaged and pride ourselves on being truly committed to creating successful reentry opportunities for those we serve, we listen and learn how these services can impact the people we serve locally and move towards replicating them in our communities. Now, probably more than ever, with the looming uncertainty of future funding streams, coalitions need to have the hard conversations at the reentry tables about what services are truly making a difference and which ones are the ones just always getting funded because they have good grant writers. If you're not looking at outcomes and impacts, you're not doing your communities any favors. Creating measurable outcomes and identifying sustainable impact should, in my humble opinion, be at the forefront of how we define or redefine reentry services and move beyond restoration. Thank you for your time. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to some and reacquaint to others Mr. James Turner. So Jim and I go back to the early 2000s when Weed and Seed was launched in Chester City. Please indulge me while I read a little bit of his bio, because I don't remember all this stuff, Jim, that you did. Jim Turner has been a driving force for positive change in Pennsylvania with the city of Chester as his home base. His journey in justice and community revitalization began with the Chester Micro Enterprise Partnership, CMP, a collaborative effort between the PCCD Weed and Seed program, the City of Chester, and the Philadelphia Development Partnership. The initiative was designed to reduce crime while fostering community growth. Under Jim's leadership, CMP provided capital, business skills, training, and technical assistance to both startups and established businesses. The program, supported by Widener University, trained 280 individuals and helped over 540 business owners improve their business skills, securing more than $500,000 in working capital within Chester's Weed and Seed target area during Jim's 3-year tenure. Following his success with CMP, Jim became the chair of the Targeted Community Revitalization Initiative, where he advised on creating and prioritizing programs that supported law enforcement and community partnerships to reduce crime and to revitalize distressed areas. He served as a commissioner on the PCCD Commission for 10 years and is now the chair of the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee, a role he took on in 2024. I present to you Mr. Jim Turner.
Good morning, everyone. All right, wait a minute. So this is got too much technology going on here. I'm a minister. I got to hold the mic. If I can't hold the mic, I can't do my thing. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. Listen, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here today, and I especially want to thank Charla and Rob for their efforts to make all of this come about over the years. As Charla said, and between Charla and Kelly, I have only 2 lines left in my entire speech here. So hopefully you heard her, and then I'm finished, right? But Charla and I go way back, and she's being very modest in who she is and what she has done, because when Chester had no direction and how to deal with the issues that we were dealing with at that particular time, Charla came in and helped us through the Weed and Seed process to really not to think differently about what we could do. And so I am forever grateful and always remember those long drives to Aliquippa and the furthest parts of this state to find out that people were having the same issues that we had. And so I greatly appreciate her, appreciate Rob for your work and for pulling this together and keeping it together. And as I said, Charlotte's been a champion for all this. And I want to thank each one of you. I know you guys don't want to hear this, but I want to thank you for being great warriors and continuing to do the work that you have done. And sometimes without any thanks and with very little money, you have made it happen. And so I want you to do me a favor, because I can't get to all 200 people in the room. I want you to turn to the person on to your right. Okay, there's nobody there. If there's no one out there on your right side, look at somebody. Look them eyeball to eyeball, eyeball to eyeball, eyeball to eyeball, right? Preferably the left eyeball. Left eyeball. Look them in their left eyeball and tell them thank you for all that you do, seen and unseen. You will never be forgotten. Thank you. So give you all yourselves a round of applause. Okay, so no. So that's what y'all did for Rob. Y'all gave Rob that kind of applause. I want you to give a rounding applause to the people in this room for the work that they've done. So it is my honor to talk about something that really lies close to my heart, and that is redefining reentry. And the most important part for me is the redefining reentry and beyond mere restoration. Reentry is often viewed as a process of returning individuals to society and primarily making everything right. So we want to patch up what's broken. We want to restore restore order. But today I want to urge you to think bigger and deeper in the reentry process. Something that Charla said was very important. Back in the day, when she started talking, I remember I had a cousin who his name was Robbie, and so I thought they called him Robbie because that was his name, but they were calling him Robbie because that's what he did. And Robbie would disappear as Charlotte would say, from time to time, and nobody knew what. And we were kids, so we didn't know what he was doing or what he was doing and whatnot. But it was the community that restored him. It was the community that brought him back. And so sometimes I think we get caught up in, well, the government should do this and this organization should do that. But somehow we need to get back to community, taking care of each other. And one of the things that was so important, even when Charla was working with us in Chester with Weed and Seed, we went into one of the hardest neighborhoods. If anyone hasn't been there, please come and join me in Highland Gardens. Highlands Gardens is not Longwood Gardens, right? It's not that kind of a place. But when we would go into Highland Gardens, one of the things that Charlotte started doing was having us to talk to the residents, to talk to the people who live there, and really understand their process, why they were there, and if they wanted to be there, and what they saw being different. And what they realized was that each time that that someone made a decision in that community, it affected everybody. It didn't just affect that family or that person, it affected that entire community. And so if that community didn't take the time to restore itself, it would remain broken. And that's what's happened to many of our communities, is that we've remained broken because we haven't taken the time to find ourselves and to really support ourselves in a meaningful way. And so I encourage you not only to do the process of what you're doing in your organization, but if you have an opportunity to go back to the community, tell the community that we got to take care of ourselves. It is not, the days of waiting for somebody else to do what we know is right is over. It's over. And we need to, if we're going to redefine it, we need to redefine it. We need to kind of start there. And so Pennsylvania Commission, so I'm supposed to be here talking about PCCD, not preaching, so let me get back to script. So PCCD, Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, has long understood that reentry must be about reintegration but it also must be about transformation. And PCCD is committed to funding reentry initiatives that are rooted in vision. And I'm just going to encourage you once again, as Charla has said and as Kelly has said, is please, I need you to think outside the box. We can't just keep doing what we've always done. And we can't keep just funding what we always, and as Charla mentioned, only God knows how the money's going to flow. Or if any money's going to flow at all in regards to where we are today. So the funding that we provide for working and empowering individuals, and certainly the work that we do with our CJABs, I should tell you that yesterday that our CJAC approved an updated strategic plan that identifies reentry as one of our top priorities. And so I am pushing, if Mike Pennington was here, he would tell you that after every meeting, I go into his office and I'm like, Mike, dude, we can't put $7 million into medical marijuana Narcan stuff and only put $1 million into reentry. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. And so he's heard me. He continues to hear me, and I'm going to keep talking until they kick me off the commission. So I think I'm supposed to be there for a little while, but between now and then, we're going to keep pushing in order for that to happen. But I want you to realize that the investment is not just for housing and unemployment and mental health. Those things are all critical, but it's really about building skills and fostering independence and mentorship and cultivating resilience in our communities and really helping you do what you need to do better than you've ever done it before. And so I want you to say this with me. No limits. No limits. No impossibilities. And say this. If it is to be, it's up to me. Yeah, so it really is, right? So it is your creative ability that is going to help us do what we have to do. And I know for those that have been in the system that I just want to encourage anybody who's here that's been in that place that your past does not define your future, right? Matter of fact, tap somebody and tell them your past does not define your future. So for many of us, people that have been re-entering into society, their past is a weight. It's a shadow. It's always seems to be following them wherever you go. And no matter what you do to grow, there's always somebody there to say, you know what, I remember what you did whenever. But that's not who you are, and that's not what you need to hold your hat on. To be clear, you are not your past, right? The choices you made yesterday have no limit, do not define you, and cannot limit you to where you need to go and for what you need to do. And I want to use my brother as an example. Somehow my brother got involved in the criminal system. My brother's not the brightest person in the world, kind of like me, right? He's my baby brother. And so somebody came up to him while he was working and said, hey, can you just hold this package in the back of your car? And so he said, oh, yeah, sure. So he put a package in the back of his car. And of course, it was a police officer, unbeknownst to him. And then they came and got him, and he wound up doing 7 years for holding those packages. And so as a result, when he came out, we were like, what in the world are we going to do? You have a record for drug possession, for giving it to a police officer, and all the other things that kind of go along with it. And he didn't know, right? And so I said, I want you to look 5 years down the road. Forget everything that's happened in the past. Look 5 years down the road. Where do you see yourself? And he says, well, I see myself married. I see myself with children. I see myself owning my own business. I said, then that's what we're going to work towards. And so the past had nothing to do with his future. Today, he is in Texas. He is married. He has 8 children. Lord God. He has the Brady Bunch, right? So now, to his credit, he married a woman that already had 4, so they added 4 more. But he has his own business, and he is doing well. As a matter of fact, last week I was in Arkansas marrying his youngest son. And so God has a way of turning things around if you allow yourself to be turned. Right? So you just need to let yourself be turned and get you to where it is. So the things that you've gone through, the strength, the resilience, the wisdom that have come through the things that you've gone through, they've made you who you are today. Don't deny those things, but don't try to make where you were before the place that you want to reside. There's a story that a book that we're reading out of church. We have this book club that our pastor just started. And we're reading a book called Hinds Feet in High Places. Anybody ever read that book? All right, so you definitely want to get that book, okay? Hinds Feet on High Places. It's by a woman by the name of Hannah Herod, and it's an old book. But in the story, there's the main character is called Much Afraid. And Much Afraid is on the track to the high place. So Much Afraid she belongs to a family called the Fearings. So they're afraid of all the things, all their past. They have resentment, they have bitterness, they have all these challenges that the family wants to keep her in. And she wants to get out of the family and go to the high place. and she's crippled. So her legs aren't turned correctly, and so she has all these barriers that keep her from all the other things that everybody else can do. But she desires to go to a different place. So during that her journey, she takes and decides that she can't return where she was. Let me say it. So one of the biggest mistakes that we make is when someone reenters, we try to put them back where they started from, right? Well, nobody who wants to be where. Can you imagine being back? Like, so most of us are over 10, right? Right? Can you imagine if you had to go back in your mother's womb? Wouldn't that be weird? Yeah. So going back to where you started from, not a good idea. You need to decide where you want to go. And so Much Afraid, and I'm finished with this, Much Afraid goes on a path where she literally has to deal with all of her fears, all of her doubts, everything that everyone else says about her. But the biggest enemy to Much Afraid is herself, because she continues to allow her fear to guide where she wants to go. And so it's not until the point where she decides she wants to do something greater that her life becomes transformed. And so in re-entering and for the things that we need to do, we can't return to normal. We can't return to what we had before. We have to be much like Much Afraid, and we have to be the person in society that is capable of taking hinds feet and climbing to high places. So what is so wonderful about the hind? The hind is the one who can leap over the mountains, go down into the valley. They can move any place that they want to go simply because they want to be there. So I encourage you, as we're going through this conference, please, please, please make the vision that you have on the inside of you a reality. Take a journey to the high place. Let's not stay in the valley. Let's move up to the high place. Let's find a different path, and let's help somebody else get to that particular place. Thank you for being here today. Whoa, don't lose the computer.
It's only mine.
Okay, then we can let it drop. Yeah.
Thank you. So a couple of things just to follow up. I want you to know that my label that has fallen off is Rob, but when I was a kid, people called me Robbie.
My cousin.
Yes, that's right. And as a matter of fact, one time I had like $6 from delivering newspapers or something, and my mother said, we have to put it in the bank, so she put Rob Bank. So anyway, just so you know that there's something about Rob's that I don't know what it is. So let me just also, just before we go any further, thank our PARC DOC Planning Committee. And if you could stand when I say your name, Charla Plains, Miranda Chen, Angie Crater, Kurt Danish, John Daw, Rosa Duncan, Kelly Evans, Ashley Ferguson, Mark Fraley, Grace Franks, David Garlick, Dorinda Hammerland, Carrie Kurtz, Michael Leister, Aaron Lopez, Lisa Perry, Mark Troschke, Eric Van Zant, and Lee Ann Whitman. So I'd ask you to give everyone here and we were literally getting together every week, so there was a lot of commitment. I also want to, and I don't know, is Miranda around? Where's Miranda? Is she in here? Okay, she's at the reception desk. She is a master's student at Carnegie Mellon, and I got to tell you, you can't find a better intern than Miranda. The other person I want to thank is John Dawes, and he is Mr. Technical. He is so precise and organized, and so in following up Jim Turner's words, I'm going to try to be John as I move forward in the rest of my life. So thank you for all your help, and thanks everyone. Just two other quick things. You know, we talk about the expansion or how reentry is being kind of seen in a different light. About last year, I had a call from Supreme Court Justice Kevin Brobson. That's Brobson. I think he's the newest justice on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And he called me because he said, I heard about PARC and I wanted to learn about reentry. I said, okay. And I said, why? I mean, how did that come up? And he said, when I was campaigning across Pennsylvania, people came up to him and were talking to them about their reentry stories and how we need additional reentry services. And so I have met with Justice Brobson 5 or 6 times in his chambers with Charla, with Kurt Danish, with Kelly Evans, with Cindy Zeidema. I don't know if she's here, but anyway, with a number of people. And I got to tell you, he is really focused on reentry. And also AOPC, which is the Administrative Office of Pennsylvania Courts, is also really interested in reentry. So this just didn't exist 7 years ago, and it's very exciting that people are starting to think about that. Also, just a few minutes ago, I got an email from Dave Sunday. He is the York County DA, but he's now the Attorney General-elect. He will be my boss at some point. And the email said, on behalf of Attorney General-elect Dave Sunday, I would like to sincerely thank you for the offer to attend today's PARC DOC conference. We were hopeful that we could make this work, but unfortunately that was not the case. Please know that Dave is absolutely supportive. I'm going to repeat that. Absolutely supportive of this critical work and looks forward to having conversations on how to best expand these services to best benefit the citizens of the Commonwealth. You're in great hands with Tim Barker today. He is his first assistant, will be speaking over lunch. So please let me know if we can be of any assistance to you as we transition. Yeah, let's keep PARC going. So I'll tell him that when I meet him. So anyway, I wanted you to know all that, and I think that all of that is really positive. So we are now moving forward with the conference, and in light of the focus of this whole conference, which is redefining reentry, moving beyond restoration, I have the privilege of introducing Eric Van Zandt and Mark Fraley, wherever Mark is. I see Eric. And, oh, hi, Mark. And they are two amazing people who both have lived experience and both have a wealth of passion on this subject. So let me turn it over with them. By the way, there are bios. There's like 30 pages of bios. And this is the edited version. So feel free to read about people as they come up. Thank you.
I need to make a quick announcement before you guys started. I'm not Eric or Mark, but I was told to make the announcement of where the restrooms are. So there are 2 restrooms on either end of the hallway here for those who may need to go. And I apologize for butting in, but you know those things are important. All right. Where? Yeah, 2 more down this way and 2 more that way. All right.